How's it going, everyone? I am Sean Moriarty,
And I'm George Bashura sitting in for Ben.
and this is the Two Irish Brothers Show. We wanted to bring you guys a little something extra this week. As you guys know, our schedule has changed a little bit. We only do a preview now for every game, and all our post game stuff is now over at Notre Dame. We do live post game shows as soon as every Irish game is completed. There's actually a note for it in the live stream here, or the live stream chat. If you guys want to go check it out and go subscribe over there, we sure would appreciate it. You know, we got two places that we're trying to build an audience for now. But first things first, George, it has been a long time since we've seen you, buddy. How have things been for you?
It's been kind of crazy, just trying to get back into the groove of doing my own thing over here with my channel, and sitting here trying to reflect on the first quarter of the season. It's kind of crazy.
It just, we were talking about this before we went live, but isn't it crazy how here we are already a quarter into the season when it seems like it takes forever for the season to get here?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I don't do the countdowns like the 100 days till the season starts, because all that means is my daughter's going back to school and I'm not rushing the summer, especially with it being her senior year. I definitely was not rushing the summer. And before you knew it, it was week 0 in Ireland.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit different for me because, well, I'm single. I don't have kids. So really, I just spend my summers doing whatever. And yeah, we did do the countdown stuff to give us a chance to play a different clip every day. But yeah, as far as just like regular everyday life, it's like, nah, summer's nice, but I'm ready for some football.
But you always want to be ready for football, but it's one of those don't blink because it'll be gone before you know it.
Oh yeah, the whole Ferris Bueller thing. If you don't stop and look around, you might miss it because life moves pretty fast. That's very true indeed. I think the second part came first. So let me get it right. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around a bit, you might miss it.
There you go.
I think that's how it properly goes. But
yep.
But yeah, no, it's crazy too. Because I as Ben saw, and I'm sure you probably saw as well, I made the trip over to Ireland, and it was February that we planned that trip, and that's the crazy part. Here that trip is over and done with already, and it's like we've been waiting forever for it to oh shoot. Oh, sorry about that. Double screen popped up. But yeah, it's here I am back to normal.
You're back to you're back to work, you're doing your things, and you're sitting back analyzing week 3 and getting ready for game 3 looking back at game 3 and looking forward to game 4.
Yes, absolutely. And so that is actually the topic of this live stream tonight, George. And let's talk about the first quarter of the season. Now, so we're 3-0, which is phenomenal, which is great. Yep. But we just came off our first, and I'm not trying to knock Navy or Tennessee State, but we just came off our first true test of the season, on the road to boot. But I don't want to. Yes, in the rain, just like like last time in Raleigh when we were in pretty much a monsoon back then. I'm thinking about that matchup in 2016. I'm surprised they didn't call that one or have a delay there.
That game should have been stopped. That game would have been one of those games that they would have gone to the locker room and they would have said, "Everybody go home."
Yeah, because that was a lot worse than what we got this past Saturday weather-wise.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's just, comparing both back in 2016 to last week, world of difference. And but of course I understand having to, even though it may not look like much, we all get stopping because of lightning, because of the face mask made of iron and all that. But yeah, our first true test, our first road test, if you will. But I guess just to start things, George, what has been your thoughts so far through this first quarter of the season?
Well, I got to be honest with you. You can't start any place else but with Sam Hartman. The guy's been phenomenal. He's showing his age, by the way. He's a grown man.
Yes.
Okay? And he has that manly world experience. And nothing is better than experience. And that's something that the Notre Dame locker room has not had over the years. You know, people knock the portal. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the portal, but you get a guy for a year, right? You get this guy for a year and he comes in and, you look at what he's doing and he's just so relaxed. He's just relaxed. So I'm not going to get into the Heisman discussion because I still think it's way too early, and it's just that's just fodder for other people's locker rooms. But I would say he has to be the story so far this season about the leadership and just the way that he plays the game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's so easy to start with because so far through 3 games, he's come as advertised. He's played so well, and what you said about the portal. One thing I do agree with is there needs to be some, and I've been thinking about this since the portal came into play here in the world of college football, and I do think there does need to be some. I don't know if limits is the right word, but there definitely needs to be some changes made to it. Like in particular, just I'm not trying to get off topic here, but for example, I think every kid coming out of high school should spend minimum at least 2 years at the school that they commit to before they just decide, oh, I don't like it here, I'm going elsewhere. Because these kids and young men, I should say, they do need to learn about commitment.
And you got to develop a work ethic. You got to go out and fight for what you want. It's too easy to jump in the water and then just get right out of it. You got to spend some time in treading water.
Yeah.
So, but we've made things society has made a lot of things a lot easier on people. And it's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, it's almost become too easy.
Yep. If I don't like it, I can go, and you know what? The grass isn't always greener on the other side. And there are former Notre Dame quarterbacks that are seeing that. They left Notre Dame. Had they stayed and run the course, you don't know what would have happened. But where they are now is not even starting.
Yeah.
So you know what? And it's like everything else. You just move on. You don't even deal with those guys. They made a decision. With those decisions comes consequences. And right now, I don't think Notre Dame's upset with the consequences that they have.
No, it's they obviously moved on to something else that has worked out. And again, go with the portal. Despite my thoughts on it, hey, if it's there, you might as well take advantage of it. You might as well use it to fill some needs. And and in this case with Sam Hartman, you got the chance to bring in some veteran leadership who has run the course. He did spend, what was it, 5 years at Wake Forest? I heard somebody say 6.
Could be 5 or 6. It could be 5 at least.
Yeah, because I was thinking he had an injury year while he was there, and then of course with COVID, everybody was given an extra year of eligibility.
Yep.
And so, but yeah, I've that's definitely the biggest difference is Sam Hartman, and I've said this recently since we started getting underway with the season on both here and the Voice of College Football, Notre Dame. World of difference with right now to a year ago.
I'll be honest with you. Notre Dame's 2-1 if Sam Hartman's not quarterback. I think Notre Dame loses that game last week with either of the quarterbacks that we would have had there.
Well, that's exactly what I was getting to is, and I'm not trying to badmouth either of those guys
Nope.
and Tyler
Nope.
Buckner and Drew Pine, because as I've said several times already, in my opinion, Drew Pine, he saved our season last year. I think if he doesn't step in and step
100%.
up, we're not finishing 9-4 and finishing the season with a win in the Gator Bowl, which it's not NY6, but I still consider that bowl game
It's a good one.
good one. And it's not like just some like one of those sponsor bowls that they just care about money. It's Gator Bowl's a traditional one, but I'm going to spare that rant because everybody's heard that enough with me in bowl games.
But there's a big difference, and you know what that difference is? Sam Hartman is not tainted by the guy formerly known as the coach of Notre Dame. He was not of that ilk, if you want to use that word. He didn't have it. There was no chance for him to become damaged goods. And the quarterbacks in the past, being in those press conferences, let me tell you, I go back to Deshaun Kaiser days, having or whoever else you want to talk about, saying we don't want a running quarterback, we want a guy that's going to stick it in the pocket, right? And then you change him halfway through a season. You go, okay, we don't want you in the pocket anymore. We want you to run. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You got to use the strengths of your quarterbacks. And right now, Sam Hartman doesn't have that around him.
No, he has all the goods. He has a talented receiving core around him. He has a very talented running back core to boot.
Well, that was gonna be my next one. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you. If it was Buckner or Pine starting this past Saturday, we probably do lose. And a big factor of that too is, well, it's not just this, but Buckner and Pine, both too short. But I think Drew obviously could chuck the ball a lot better than Buckner could. But it just these were two guys that weren't going to take us to the promised land.
No, they didn't. They weren't developed to have that prowess.
Yes,
we've talked about it in the past. You have the high school game. You're the big man on campus, right? You come to college, especially Notre Dame, where QB1 is always under the microscope. There's stress. We've said that numerous times in conversations.
Yeah, we have.
Sam Hartman is like, and this is where I want everyone to be cautious. There's a level of the guy being comfortable, and there's the level of what we don't know is going to rattle him yet. And that's the part you got to think about. That's the next step of Sam Hartman. How is he going to handle his contest is coming up in 2 weeks? How is he going to handle the stress of having Ohio State in his backyard?
Exactly. I mean, and people think that so many of us, I guess you could say that you and I are probably homers, for lack of a better term.
But I could say possibly, but you know what, Sean? I've really with being involved with the media in the past, I've really stepped away from that. And I take back and I take it all in, and I call it as I see it.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And that's what I was saying. I mean, homers was probably the wrong term, but what I'm saying is we're not like the doom and gloomer type people in our
no, not at all.
Because see, one thing I've heard is, like, especially through the first two games before NC State, is people saying, "Oh, quit doing this and quit being so excited." It was Navy, it was Tennessee State. Well, of course, we all know that the big boys are coming up. This is just getting started. Those first two games weren't Ohio State, they weren't USC, but it's like, come on, people. And I'm talking towards all these doom and gloomers. Why can't we be excited that we saw our new quarterback come as advertised, or that this running back room showed potential, and the improvement in the receiving game. And why can't we be excited about seeing our team take care of business like they should in certain matchups?
Because sometimes people just can't be happy. That it's just plain and simple. They're the same ones that read the articles that come out about the former head coach, and they sit there and they bash him. I don't have energy for that. I want to see where this team can go. I want to be able to analyze, and I just want to see what these guys can do, because you got to understand, these folks are on a job interview.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and Sam Hartman right now, he's looking to raise his stock in the draft. Jets are looking for a quarterback.
I have something I want to say about that, but I don't know if I should. Being a Bears fan and all that, it's
I'll go on and talk about the running backs. We'll keep that.
We'll save that. I'll save my thoughts on that one. But yes, definitely continuing on from last season. Unbelievable running back room. And we have Audric Estime leading the way with yards and touchdowns. What do you think? And I know this doesn't say much, and I know we probably shouldn't even talk about it, George. But despite early as it is, and I don't care about. I don't know how you feel, but I like to talk about a few hypotheticals. If things keep going the way that they are, with how Sam Hartman's performing and the start that Audric Estime has gotten going, continuing on from last season, do you think there's a possibility that we could have two guys in New York come December?
Well, I mean, anything's possible. I mean, it's all in the way you continue to play. If those two guys stay grounded, there's no reason. Now, will the voters let that happen? Absolutely not. Because everyone's going to talk about it's just because it's Notre Dame. So that would be the one thing that keeps that from happening. But there's real reason why he can't. I mean, Estime through 3 games has 352 yards. Okay, well, I should say net 345. Okay,
right.
So we'll talk about net yards. 345. Now you take that and you divide up about how many running backs we have in that room, right? Mm-hmm. Running backs we have in that room. He did 80 of those yards on one play last week. So the data gets kind of skewed.
Right.
But when you set goals as a running back to go do things as he does, you expect greatness.
You know what really a stat really staggers me with Audric Estime is 8 yards a carry.
That's pretty darn good. I'm more curious about his yards after contact. That guy takes hits and he keeps on running.
Yeah.
His yards after contact are just crazy. So, but that whole running back locker room is just amazing. I mean, they don't care who gets the ball. They're in it for each other and they're cheering each other on.
In particular, I know he's only had 15 carries, but what have you thought of true freshman Jeremiah Love so far?
All you got to do is hope that it carries over. And there's one thing you can not worry about is he'll be back next season. He's not gonna go from his freshman year going into the NFL draft. So you hope to get 2, maybe a junior year out of him.
Mm-hmm.
But all you can do is hope that he learns and grows. I mean, those are things that you love to, those are things you love to have in your locker room. And I can't remember if he was a 3 or 4 star running back. I think he was a 3.
I thought he was a 4, but
maybe
he
was a 4. But this is where it goes to show, some 5s pan out, some 5s don't. Some 4s pan out, some 4s don't. It all depends on the heart of the person that you got going, in that backfield or at whatever position.
Well, and I just with the whole running back crew in general, I just like the fact that with any of these, well, I was going to say four, but five guys. Just Devin Ford's hurt right now. I'm not sure what his status is for this week, but about the guys who have been mostly active in Estime, Love, Jabron Payne, Jadarian Price. It's just crazy that you can hand the ball off to any one of these four guys and you can rely on them. And one guy I'm looking forward to in particular as time goes forward. I mean, yeah, Jeremiah Love, because he's a true freshman, he's off to a good start. And then, of course, Audric Estime continuing on from where he left off last season. But I can't wait to see more of Jadarian Price.
I was going to say, you're going to pay the price.
Yes. Yes.
That's gonna be his tagline when it comes time for the NFL. It's time to pay the price.
Well, it's just when you look at him and Audric Estime side by side, that's like you're looking at two incredible Hulks right there.
Yep.
I mean, and Price, he's working his way back from an injury, and it's like don't tell all of our opponents. It's like don't sleep on him because you think it just because Audric Estime doesn't get the ball, this kid's going to get the ball and he's going to do the same thing.
Yep.
And I mean that potential is there with him. So
I can't wait. Devin Ford is in the 5 deep for this week.
Okay.
So just to let you know.
All right, cool. Because I knew it was I know on the defensive side of things, I think it was Bertrand they were holding out because of concussion protocol.
Bertrand's on the roster. Bertrand's on the depth chart as well.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Because I was thinking, but I bet he gets limited reps though.
I'm sure he would get limited reps. I don't think they're going to go off and make him hurt himself at this point in his career.
Right. And also, before we go any further, to anybody who's watching, feel free to comment, ask us questions, and we will answer them and respond accordingly. So let's see those comments and questions. So the next group we got to talk about, the receiving core. And I think you and I both share or at least I'd like to think we share the same opinion on this. What a start that Jaden Greathouse is off to.
Oh, once again, a true freshman, right?
Yes.
And like I said, when you have guys like come in like this and they fight their way into the roster, the future's bright. It creates in Sean, we've talked about this in years past. Notre Dame I've always talked about having to develop the triple threat. Whether it's you need good tight ends, you need good wide receivers, you need a good quarterback, and you need a good running back staff. Right now, you can look at whatever position you want, right, that matters as far as touching the ball is concerned. You're 2 or 3 deep at receiver. You're 2 or 3 deep in running backs, right? And you work that stuff out. And if you got a quarterback that can run and throw the ball for depth, you don't know what the team's going to bring you. So they've developed, in my eyes, this triple threat. Now it's just a matter of going out and mixing the players to keep that triple threat active through different parts of the game.
Yes. And for the most part, it's been pretty consistent through 3 games. But since we're talking strictly on the receiving core, I saw some flashes last week, but I really hope that that Tobias Merriweather can get going here pretty soon.
Yeah, but you can't overlook Chris Tyree either.
No.
He's doing what you would want from a running back coming out of the back. He's a triple threat himself. He's going to line up. Is he going to get the ball or is he going to be downfield for a pass? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, because that's something that's going to keep the defense on their toes.
You have to have a running back, and they've developed him into a wide receiver. And he's doing a great job, by the way, for it being his first season as a wide receiver.
Oh, yes.
128 yards through 3 games. That's not bad at all with how they're splitting the ball up between the runs and all the other folks that are catching the ball. you can't complain.
Yeah, and also something else I guess I got to remind myself of is, like I mentioned specifically Tobias Merriweather.
Yep.
Well, just because you don't get the catches or the yards or the touchdowns doesn't mean that you're not contributing out there. Because you got to remember, I got to tell myself this. You got to remember, Sean, they're doing more than just catching the ball. They're blocking. They're setting up picks. They're setting up the plays to happen.
Are they going to get the ball once again? Who's going to get the ball? You could be setting up that you're going to be blocking or whatever, but all you got to do is throw a little move, and the ball's coming your way. So, they've under Coach Freeman, they're doing things a lot differently. With Tommy Rees, going to Alabama and bringing in Parker in his place, I think these folks are getting a fresh new look, and it's not complex. It actually lets the game come to them, and it shows. It's showing week to week. And the thing is, we haven't seen everything that these folks have yet, because they're not going to put that stuff out there for Ohio State to go and try and figure out what they're going to do. They've got a small taste, but I bet you there's a whole nother playbook that you're going to see in 2 weeks. But don't get caught in the trap game.
Yeah, exactly. And Ben and I just said this on our preview for Central Michigan. Yeah, okay. This is a MAC school that we're going to be playing this week. We are expected to win big, but play them as if you are playing Ohio State. Don't overlook them, because you get into a battle with them, they're going to make you pay, because we're the biggest game on their schedule.
Well, look what's already happened this year, with other games that have been played. LSU, that game never should have happened the way that it did. Florida State won their national championship in their rise. They've got LSU's number now.
And then this past weekend, Texas comes in and takes care of Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
Right. So you can't play down to your opponent. You got to play your game. And that's what was happening last week down in Wake Forest there. Not Wake Forest, at
NC State.
NC State. They played down a little bit to NC State. And the best thing that could have happened, I put this out there on Twitter, the best thing could have happened was going into that locker room and resetting.
Yes. No, that even though it sucked, the delay being an hour and 45 minutes, stuff like that has its benefits too.
No, that's I truly think it stopped. It would help them. It helped them change the way they were thinking. So
now, George, I know we have yet to cover the defensive side of things, but in your opinion, well, actually, you know what? Let's just cover the defense first, because it wouldn't be fair to just ask what I was going to ask without covering everybody first. But defensively, I think obviously through the first two games, they did what they were expected to do.
Yep.
And I think overall, for the most part, our defense has played exceptionally well. Now, of course, the one who stands out for me is most people are going to be like, Sean, what are you talking about? But the one guy who's been an absolute hawk out there that I've had my eye on, Maris Leofau.
Yeah. He's right there. He's in the top three. He's getting around the ball, and you can't ask for more than that. It's important. You got to have those folks out there that are getting those pass breakups, and making the quarterback think about throwing near him. So,
well, and also, I mean, there were some question marks coming in this season too, with as far as defense goes, especially with our defensive backfield, and would they hold up from what they were a year ago and the guys that we lost. My best way to put it is this way. Last season, we didn't have a forced turnover until game 3.
Yep.
This year, through 3 games, I think we have like, without looking, I think we have like 4 or 5.
It's what you got to do. You got to make those things happen. It's about going for the ball. It's about disrupting. It's about getting in on the quarterback. So, and making those things happen is in rushing the quarterback. Those are the things. That's the game within the game. You need to have more turnovers in your favor than those that go against you.
Yes, of course. Oh, of course. I couldn't agree with you more there. But I mean, the linebacking core, nothing is really surprising there. I mean, it's a very veteran linebacking room, if you will.
Yep.
I would say the question that I was going to ask you before we just covered the defense and all that. And of course, Benjamin Morrison doing Benjamin Morrison like things. Got to mention that. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
I'm going to go one above you. I'm going to go to Howard Cross. How great is it having a guy from his dad was a New York Giant, okay? When I was a huge Giants fan, and seeing Howard Cross's kid on Notre Dame sideline. You know what I'm saying? The kid's a beast. And Kaiser, once again, another field general.
Yes. Yep.
But JD Bertrand, prior to me looking at the depth chart today, that was going to be a big gap for Notre Dame, is having that leadership out there on the field. So,
I
mean, the defense has come to where it needed to be.
Yes. Oh, I agree.
These are guys that are now 2 years in Coach Al's system, right? Al Golden's system, and they know what he expects. Stuff can't be learned overnight. It's when you're teaching an NFL defense, it's not easy.
Well, and you look at what we lost from our defense too. I mean, we lost, we lost, especially on the defensive line itself. We lost the Ademiamola twins.
Yep.
We lost, and why am I blanking on his name? Our defensive end.
I'm blanking too.
You know who I'm talking about, though.
I do.
Why am
Kyle Hamilton?
No, not Kyle.
Kyle was 2 years ago.
He was, and plus he was a safety. I'm talking about
safety.
Our edge rusher.
I'm bad with names sometimes, so
I should know it. Isaiah Foskey.
Yes.
How could I blank on his name? I hate that.
No, you can't blank on Foskey. I agree with you.
It's like, how do I blank on that? I don't know. Stupid.
Thanks, Corey. We appreciate it.
Yes. Hey, it happens to the best of us. But it's not like I forgot Foskey. I just was blanking on his damn name and couldn't spit it out.
You see him and you just can't say it.
Yes. But considering all that we lost just on the defensive line alone, and you replace them with guys like Howard Cross and Riley Mills, and guys that are pretty inexperienced. And so far they've been doing a pretty good job. But the question that I was going to ask you, George, before I decided to just talk briefly about the defense, and this is stuff you have to address. You don't like to address it, but the cons of this team, and you can go with either side, offense, defense. I mean, special teams, there hasn't really been much either way, because Schrader's only had three field goal attempts. The punting's been good and so on. So not really much to talk about there, but what are some cons that you've noticed?
Discipline. Not even a thought in my mind. It's the discipline. Last week was just crazy. The defensive penalties, the offensive penalties. You just sit there and it's discipline. You need to play disciplined football. You're an independent, and any little thing can go against you. Okay? And when a team scores points off of your penalties because you continue drives, to me, if I was the coach, if I was Coach Freeman this week, I would have been on those guys I would have been on them about penalties. Because those penalties it's a completely different score in the ball game.
Oh, I agree.
I'm not worried about the last 7 points of the game. That was nothing. That was everyone else coming into the game.
Garbage
I'm not
time.
talking about those 7 points. I'm talking about the other points about continued play that led. I believe they both led to touchdowns.
Well, I know that we had the offsides on the 4th and 4, which resulted in the NC State drive continuing. I can't remember if it led to a touchdown or not, but there was a couple. There was like a unsportsmanlike conduct where it did lead to a touchdown.
Yep.
And I got to say this real quick. I'm not one of those guys who likes to, blame the ref or anything. A lot of those calls were correct, but there were a number of those that I have to say this or I wouldn't be a fair guy here, but there were some of those calls in that game last week that were pretty weak.
There was, okay. So was it last week? No, it was the week before. So we won't go back. We won't go back 2 weeks. But the penalties that you call, you got to call them on both sides of the ball. Plain and simple. It was at a point where it was like almost intentionally, like they were trying to keep NC State in the game.
Yeah.
And that's not the way the game should be played. Call the game the way it should be called. Plain and simple.
Yeah. And here's what I'm talking about. It's like, Corey Flynn's. Oh my gosh. What? I heard the unsportsmanlike call was for eating a hot dog on the field.
No.
Well, I remember the one unsportsmanlike was I think it was on Benjamin Morrison. Like he didn't even really touch the guy. He was just getting up and backing away, and maybe he was John with the guy. I don't know.
So that play in particular, that went both directions, by the way.
Yes.
I think what happened was their legs got tangled up coming up, and he did push off, but it wasn't purposely. Maybe they were going at each other for whatever reason, but there was nothing egregious, in that.
Yeah, that's true. It did become offsetting penalties. I did forget about that, but you're right. You're right. It did. But it's funny though. A lot of these calls though, the ones that I feel were absolutely weak. Okay, it's like, okay, the refs are going to call that, but they don't call the flagrant horse collar on Sam Hartman.
I saw that. He was down inside the 20.
Yeah.
And he gets grabbed for the horse collar. He gets grabbed, by the back of his jersey.
Yeah, it was a clear horse collar.
Where's that penalty? Because now you're talking, instead of being at the 5 or the 10, I think where they were, now you're talking inside the 5, maybe the 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it definitely goes both ways. And it's just, I don't know. I sit there and I shake my head sometimes when you see these officials, what they're calling. It doesn't make sense. It's week after week, by the way.
Yes.
If we go back 2 weeks ago, the targeting that's called, okay, clearly the helmet goes to the shoulder.
Yes.
Okay. That's not targeting. When the crown of the helmet comes into another player, that's targeting, and you got them wrong. You got both plays wrong.
Well, Devin Ford, that's why he's out. Right.
That's why he was out.
Where was the call? Where was the targeting on that? And that was clear helmet to helmet.
Absolutely. The guy is knocked to the ground. He was a little woozy afterwards. You sit there like that. How do you define targeting? We had the conversation. Targeting is not a bad penalty. It becomes a bad penalty when it's enforced in the wrong way.
Yes. It's got to be a clear, like, okay, yes, he is leading with his helmet into the other guy's helmet. But if it's going to be such a weak version of targeting, that's where it becomes a problem. That's where I have a problem with it.
That's where the review That's where the review has to be objective, not subjective. You should have to go through a checkbox, and does it check all these things? And now what it's coming down to, it's a subjective review, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
Thankfully the targeting call for Notre Dame was in the first half, because it didn't affect the next game. That penalty comes in the second half.
Yeah, he's out.
Out.
Yeah, for the first half of the next game.
Right.
To address this comment, Corey Flynn, still haven't heard for sure one way or another from analysts if tackling someone by the neck is actually a horse collar. That was pretty damn close right there, Corey.
Well, Corey,
I'm not angry at you.
What I saw, and you're not wrong in your question, but if you look at the replay, you can clearly see his hand inside his jersey pulling him backwards. So that was I would call those an egregious foul that's not called.
Yeah, and Corey, I hope you don't think I was snapping at you. I really wasn't. I just was like, I just think back on that play, and I remember seeing it live, and I'm like, how in the hell is that not horse collar? I mean, it was unbelievable, and also that could hurt us even more because guys, we've seen this in the past. Like, this is why the rules created. It was by what's his name in the NFL, I forget who it was, but he played for the Cowboys, and he actually broke Terrell Owens' leg doing it.
Yeah,
and that's why the whole horse collar tackle penalty was created, and of course it's made its way down to the college game. But yeah, think about that. What if the same thing happened to Sam Hartman there? I'm not gonna say we're screwed or anything, but there's a world of difference between Sam Hartman and Steve Angeli.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Steve Angeli still got that. He's got that look in his eyes. Still, he doesn't have that "I'm not afraid of you" look. He's got that. He's got that hint of, oh crap, what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, he got out of it on one nice play. That's for sure.
He did absolutely. But you're talking about a difference of a guy being out the rest of the season, and then you're talking about, your transfer portal guy bringing you to the promised land, possibly.
Yes. But I guess to get back on track here, aside from the penalties, because I had to bring that up.
Off the beaten path is good, Sean.
What?
Off the beaten path is good.
Well, yeah, because it brings up things that you didn't necessarily think about before. But myself personally, and I'll start with the defensive side of things, I agree with you. Discipline. We've definitely seen a lack of discipline through 3 games. But I would say another con has been not finishing plays, not wrapping up the ball carrier, and he squirts through for like 5 more yards. Because we've been getting the pressure on the quarterbacks very nicely. But it's just when we get through, we can't seem to finish them off, and that's something that's got to change here pretty quick.
Well, we can't go back to the days of BVG.
Yeah, no.
No. It's not there.
People think that Brian Kelly should be the one that who we shall not mention. No, it's Brian Van Gorder who we shall not mention, because that was one of the worst defensive game plans I've ever seen in my life.
We won't go off the beaten path.
No. Back to the tackling.
But I had seen him that weekend and wished him good luck against Duke, and we all know what happened after that. The rest is history.
I was there that day, George. What did you do to us?
Well, I had gone out to dinner. With a couple folks. BVG was at the restaurant we were at. I was a nice guy. Everyone else had to be a fan, and they had to go over and, go around them and try and be all gushy and stuff. So I went outside. I just held the door, plain and simple. And, I said, good luck against Duke on Saturday. I was holding the door. So the joke became, when he got fired that Sunday, is that I showed Van Gorder the door.
That's good. I like that. You never told us that story before.
That's sorry. I never told you that one, but yeah.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep. So I showed BVG the door.
Yeah, you showed him the door. The university just gave him the paperwork.
Yep.
But I guess going back to the tackling and stuff. I think that kind of just goes back to what you were saying about new guys stepping in and the inexperience, and because these are guys that are getting their chances to to start for the first time and not just being situational playing time.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get the reps. It's very important. It's very important to get the reps. They were able to get the reps in the first 2 games. It's important to get in there, but you're talking about weather. You're talking about it's a different scenario. But in this case, you just got to learn to play the game at the next level.
I got to put this up. Corey Flynn says, "Too bad you didn't run into him and hold the door for him a couple years sooner." Well, the sad part is he got off to his Notre Dame career pretty nicely. I hate to admit it,
but he followed Kelly around like a little sheep. Didn't he? Wasn't he one of those guys that was following Brian Kelly around?
Yeah, I'd say he was one of the 2 Darryls following Larry. I wonder how many of you in the live chat get that reference.
Boy, Larry, Darryl, and Daryl. The good old days.
Yes, when TV was actually good. I'll just go ahead and tell you guys that's from the show.
Newhart show. Bob Newhart show.
Not the Bob Newhart show, just Newhart.
Newhart, yes.
Yeah, because that was the one where he was running an inn in I think Vermont or New Hampshire.
Yep.
And there were 3 maintenance guys. Well, they had a business. It was called Anything for a Buck.
Yep.
These guys would literally do anything for a buck, and they were Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. And every time they introduced themselves, they would always go. Larry was the only one of the trio that talked.
Yep.
And then he would always say, "Hi, I'm Larry. This is my brother Daryl, and that's my other brother Daryl."
Yep.
But yeah. Oh, Corey gets it. Yeah, Corey gets it. I get the reference. 80s. Yes, 80s TV.
80s TV.
Of course, my favorite show of all time actually comes from the 70s, Sanford and Son.
Oh God.
But I'm not even going to go there. That's just that's not even the topic, and that'd be too much to discuss.
No politics in sports.
No politics and no controversy. But shut up, you dummy. Anyway, but yeah, so I'd like to think that'll I know we were talking about BVG, but we should get back off that.
Yeah, let's go away from that.
But I think maybe that is just learning curves and getting your starting time for the first time, really.
The thing comes is just they're just nerves. You got to be able to understand how do you take in the moment, and what do you got to go do and what you got to get done. That's why some of these guys don't get into the scores are a certain way.
Well, and I would say to go to the offensive side of things, I'm not going to say the whole offensive line, but I would say like the guard positions have been kind of shaky so far through 3 games. I mean, what have you noticed with that, George?
It's not a good thing when Sam Hartman's on his back.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all know that.
That's a very bad thing. It's a blown assignment, and when there's more than one in a game, I think this past game there was 3 sacks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's been sacked in total, 4 times, I believe.
I can tell you, I got the
4. Yep, 4. He's been sacked 4 times.
Yep, and I think there was 3. I think there was 3 sacks in that one game this past weekend.
Yeah, I don't have the individual game stats pulled up, but
4 sacks. He had 4 sacks. There was 4 sacks on him on Saturday.
All 4 sacks came in one game.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
And Everyone, I mean, I'm trying to remember where I saw in the conversations. I think they're saying about Zeke Correll, as being, part of the problem. You know what? There's a bunch of guys out there. Each guy's got one guy, and each one of them has a job, right?
Yes.
And their job is to keep, the hands of the opponents off of your quarterback.
Well,
Um,
it's just shocking too because we're supposed to have like two I know Joe Alt and the other one Blake Fisher.
yep.
So we have two guys on this offensive line. I'm not just talking about the guards now. I'm talking about in general. We have two guys on this line who are supposed to be projected first round picks into the NFL.
Yep.
And so it's like when you have two guys like that and other guys who are supposed to have that potential and step up, yeah, our quarterback should not be hitting the ground 4 times in one game.
Well, you got to remember and it's funny because when you see Sam Hartman go down to the ground, right? It wasn't too long ago that there was a statistic that McGlinchey and company, okay, they had not allowed. I think that they only allowed 1 or 2 sacks their entire career. Okay, that's
Yeah.
keeping your quarterback's hindside clean. Okay, and Carell's had his issues with injuries, right? I mean, last year he did some time and was struggling a little bit. But that's just stuff. You just got to play smart football. These guys can do it. They just can't miss their assignments, plain and simple. One wrong play. I mean, not to make a reference to Aaron Rodgers last night, but
Oh, go ahead and make it. I don't
that
care.
offensive line was horrible. That offensive line let those guys get through and put Roger on his tail end. Those are the types of injuries that a quarterback can incur if the offensive line doesn't do their job.
I never wish for guys to get hurt or anything, but forgive me if I don't mourn over that.
That's okay. I just love the fact that the folks in Green Bay that were drinking all the beer because they thought that Rodgers they were going to win that game because Rodgers went out. And I guess this whole bar ended up having to pay their rather large tabs because they thought for sure their alcohol was going to be for free. So that's karma.
I did see a headline pop up about that, but I thought it was a joke.
No, that was dead serious.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, have these people not seen the show Bar Rescue? I mean, if you start giving away a ton of free drinks, that's how you put yourself out of business.
Well, guess what? The restaurant, the bar won because the Jets ended up winning the game, and they all had to pay, and Rodgers started. So,
well, that's what I'm saying. Did they really think a bar is going to give away that much booze? No. That's the point that I was getting at.
They weren't hoping, but they got saved. So,
screw them all around.
Yep.
That's what I say because, well, of course, being a Bears fan, you expect me to say that.
Yep.
But I'm not going to go there. I've had enough misery on Sunday with that. But yeah. So just getting back to the good football right now.
Sure.
Yeah, I just we've seen this in regards to the offensive line. We've seen this the past couple of years, even back in 2021 when we were going to the NY6 and all that. They weren't getting to the right spot until like halfway through the season. And this one's a little different. You can't be trying to figure out things in week 4 or week 5 because we got Ohio State coming up after this week. And then that's when the overall meat of our schedule kicks in. And if you're still shuffling around your offensive line, you're going to be facing nothing but problems.
No, and I'll be honest with you. I'm going to give you a simile.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
My daughter participates in band competitions.
Yes.
And they had their first band performance this past weekend. Okay. By the way, it's our first time we got a trophy. We came in second place for the first time.
Oh, way to go. Congratulations.
In 3 years. But the last couple of years, they were just trying and moving performance to performance, right? And you should know what you got to do before the season starts, in my opinion. Okay, there's
Yeah.
none of this grow as we go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You either get ready or go home. So this year, the band is at a different point than they were last year. Okay, in their preparation for competition, and it showed last weekend. Okay, if you keep changing shit on people, and you're trying to build a system, but you keep changing it, they're not going to learn. They're not going to be able to do what you ask them to do. They're going to keep looking over to the sideline like, what the hell? Like they did under the other guy, BVG. Every single play, the defense was looking over. What are we going to do? Go play the freaking game. You should know what you got to go do. Plain and simple. You practice it all week. Just go and execute. As I heard from many Notre Dame football players, is the practice should be harder than the game, because all the game is.
I've heard that too.
All the game is a simulation to what you did in practice all week. It should all be muscle memory by Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So, and that's the discipline. That's just the fact of going out there and execute, or making adjustments.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the band, your daughter's band reference was that was a good comparison. You know, because yeah, I mean, if you're looking over to somebody who, well, doesn't know what they're doing, how are you supposed to know what to do? But again, that's where all that preparation, you know, for hours during the week, that's where you put it all into that one, or that those 3 hours on Saturday.
They practice 10 hours a week, okay? 10 hours a week out here at the high school for a 7 or 8 minute competition. So you're not even talking for an hour worth of a game. You're talking 10 hours of practice for 7 to 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And then if you're not doing well, you got to take a step back and look at yourself. And I'm not talking about the players. It's the preparation by the coaches. Did we prep them the right way?
Yes. And just hopefully the answer is yes after each game.
All you can do is just hope the time you spent was well.
Yes. Well, and just getting back to the offensive line itself. I mean, yeah, when it comes to the big boys, you cannot afford to make these mistakes. You cannot let them get through, because not only are they going to put Hartman on his back, they could very well hurt him.
They're going to find out. I mean, the team is starting to develop who they are, and I heard that reference come out this weekend out of the press conference with Coach Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
I think the true test of where they stand is when they play Ohio State.
Yes. I mean, I will say this: NC State was a good start, because, and again, I've said this in a couple shows already, I am not bad-mouthing Navy or Tennessee State, because those are kids that are putting in the work like everybody else. They're just at a different level.
It's a different level.
But NC State is on the same level as us. They are what I mean by that is guys that are similar in size and athletic ability and so on. So that was a good start, and I think that was definitely a great opportunity to see, like, okay, we just played a team that was on our level. They gave us some fits. Now, what do we do about it?
You got to adjust. You got to make the adjustment, and you got to go into practice, and you got to have that I'm not going to let that happen again attitude.
Yes.
There was a comment that came across the game on Saturday. I thought it was something the NC State coach said, which was kind of interesting. He basically told his defense, if you don't want to play, go home.
Well, it's pretty much what it comes down to.
I mean, you're here to play a game. Go play. So,
what was the line on? I don't know if I should say that word before the season, and how much what has it shrank?
I have no idea. I have no idea what the line is. I
see myself. Look. This is no disrespect to you, Corey, and I'm not bad mouthing anybody who does, but it's just myself personally. I just cheer for my team. I'm not a gambling guy who really pays attention to the spreads or the over unders and all that.
You play to win the game.
Yes.
It doesn't make a difference. All that the rankings are for is so that people can go out there in Vegas can make money. That's the only reason why you have rankings. That's why preseason rankings are just stupid. Once again, no offense, Corey. It's a fair question, but I'm not into. I don't follow the line. I say just go win the game on the field. Plain and simple.
I guess we'll just look it up for the heck of it. We still got a game to go before that Ohio State gets here, but the betting odds we have Notre Dame minus 7.5, and there's no on the site that I'm looking at. There's no over under listed, but that's what according to this site, it's Notre Dame minus 7.5. But before the season, I have no idea. I never really paid attention to it before the season. But
you got to remember, Ohio State's actually leaving home.
Ohio State's what?
Ohio State is actually having to leave home.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, I see, Corey.
That's fair. That's fair.
As far as that goes, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I guess either way, I never really paid attention to the spreads. I just want to watch my team. That's it.
I say you just go out there and play the game. You know, the line is basically there, you know, because Vegas wants to make money, and that's all that's about. But the line has, in my opinion, has nothing to do with respect. It's these you got folks that they get it right. They understand what they're doing. But you got to remember, Notre Dame's is not the beneficiary of games like Ohio State, like over Alabama, and that's because of history.
Well, you know, George, you mentioned you made the comment saying that Ohio State actually has to leave home. But you know I was going to mention this, but are they really leaving home? Because I have my concerns about
last year they played 5 home games in a row.
Well, that part was ridiculous, but I'm talking about our fans selling their tickets.
Oh no, don't go there. Because this is what's going to happen. Ohio State comes into Notre Dame Stadium, right? And Notre Dame loses, right? First thing the fans that sold their tickets are going to do is they're going to be the first ones to complain. And I'll get on my soapbox because you know that I will.
You know I do too.
I know you will too. You're a Notre Dame fan and you sell those tickets willing to an Ohio State fan. All you're looking for is trouble. You turn a home game into an away game. We saw that many, many years ago against Georgia. Was it the opening game against Georgia?
Oh, let's go further back than that. 2000 when Nebraska came to town.
Oh, I'm just trying to stay in
recent memory. Okay, yeah, it was 2017 against when Georgia came to town.
Yep,
half the stadium's red.
Yep,
and even against Cincinnati in 2021.
Yep.
I mean that wasn't nearly as bad, but still there was too much red in those stands.
I understand. I can understand if you can't make the game and selling your tickets, but if you're selling your tickets to build off of what we have in capitalism, okay, and sell your tickets for an egregious price, okay, That's not being a fan. And
No.
so it's
Oh,
it's
and
it's it's a, it's a tough line not to cross. But those are the first fans that will complain when Notre Dame loses because they'll say they stink.
I've had people, George, in the last few months on a Facebook page that I help run. I've had one guy tell me, why shouldn't I sell my ticket?" And he's not even talking about, like, usually you hear people say that it's because Magnum, what's up? I'll finish my thought in just a second. What's up, buddy? Pulling for Notre Dame, Sean. I hope they make the playoffs for you. Thanks, buddy. Even if that happens, we have to play each other. That mutual respect is still there, buddy. Good friend of mine who's a Georgia fan, and he when I was there for the 2019 matchup, him and his wife and their daughter, they set me up with lodging for 5 days.
Nice.
So good. Magnum's a good friend of mine, and I still can't thank him and his wife enough for doing that for me. Then saved me a lot of money. But getting back to what I was saying about everything, but I've had people tell me stupid things about, like, trying to justify selling their tickets, like, oh, the team's got to prove something to me, or this, that, whatever. I'm protesting the high ticket prices and blah, 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 blah. Yet they turn around and sell them for high prices, which I find ironic. But I've had some other people tell me things like, "Oh, well, I live in Elkhart, making 75 grand a year, so it's kind of hard to afford tickets when I make that. So if they're going to sell to the crazy fans from the other team, I'll sell them for 10 grand or whatever they went for on the open market."
Nope,
It's like,
there's no place. There's no justification.
it's stupid. I just wish they just tell me the truth. It's like, just say you don't care about the team. Just say you want the money. Just tell the truth.
So
But it's like because here's the thing. Let's talk about those, quote, crazy fans that spend all that money. And this, I'll give you a perfect example. And Magnum, he can back this up. Shoot. What was I going to say? When I was down there for the rematch against Georgia in Athens, I'm sure there were a lot of people that were just like me, don't make a ton of money. And as for that Elkhart guy from Elkhart, 75 grand and you can't afford a ticket, shut the hell up.
yeah,
It's like a lot more than what I make, that's for sure. Yeah,
but you make a constant that you made a decision to buy the tickets. You don't have to buy the tickets. If you can't afford it, you don't do it.
Yeah. But it's like, here's the thing though. Get to finish off this quick point. And you saw it on the screen watching the game, George. There's a lot of Georgia fans that are just like me, average, 9 to 5, 40-hour a week type guy, making a regular wage and so on. They didn't sell their tickets.
Yep.
Alabama fans don't sell their tickets. Ohio State fans don't sell their tickets. USC fans don't sell their tickets.
Yep.
Why is it our fan base that embarrasses itself when it comes to this thing?
Because it's about them, and that's the way they treat their team. It's not about Notre Dame football. It's about them living vicariously through the team.
Yeah.
End of discussion right there.
Yeah. I'll say this: the only way, like, let's say I had a ticket to a marquee matchup like Ohio State or a Georgia when they came to town or whoever. The only way that I would ever sell my ticket is if it was literally a life or death situation. And here's what I'm talking about. Like, let's say my brother, and God forbid something like this ever happened. Let's say he had a big accident at work and needed a severe surgery, a big time surgery or whatever, or to get rid of cancer or something like that. And let's say that surgery or treatment was going to cost, I don't know, $30,000, let's say. And let's say I had someone offer me that kind of money to save his life, because it literally is a life or death situation. That is the only time that I would ever do something like that. But at least I would know that it's for the right reasons.
Well, when you live your life vicariously through the team and it doesn't really mean that much to you, that's what you do. Plain
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, it's like, because they don't win enough games or this or that. What happened to just being faithful to your team?
Why, as I wrote a couple years ago, Sean, why should a football player care about winning or losing a game if the fan base all they do is bitch and moan about them?
Well, and that's the thing. That's exactly it. This bitching and moaning. Do they have no idea how? Oh, and by the way, Brandon, the touchdown Godwin, I saw, I did see that, but do they not have any idea how much that would affect recruiting? Now, of course, recruiting is different now because you have the NIL in play and stuff like that. But still, though, what this is still a factor. If you got a fan base that's going to sell their tickets just to make a buck when a marquee matchup comes to town, why would they want to play for a team where their fans turn on them?
So this goes back to the conversation we had a couple years ago. If I'm a parent, I don't want my kid to go to that school. I'm gonna try and sway my kid to go someplace else. As much as it's Notre Dame, I don't want the kid to go play there, because no one likes to be criticized at their job. Why is it okay for people to criticize these young adults, right? That are getting an education and playing a game.
Yeah,
Who are we to chastise them?
exactly.
So
And Magnum had another good comment. Hell, at least Notre Dame fans go to games. The sorry ass Miami Hurricanes have to beg people to come to games. LOL. Uh, Corey Flynn says, I wonder how much that changes if we win some playoff games or a national title. If we get to elite level, hopefully more fans don't sell tickets.
nope, they still will
Because they'll make more money that
make
way.
more money on them.
I mean, that's the thing. I don't get what has changed so much because Notre Dame Stadium actually used to be a scary place for teams to come and play. And it's just over time, it's like it's become too much of a cheese and wine type crowd.
I don't know if it's about a cheese. I've seen cheese and wine crowds when I went to the Yale Harvard game. I've
Okay, that was a fair statement.
I've been to the Candelabra tailgate. Okay, I've seen how that goes.
Okay, that wasn't a fair comment. I have to retract that, I guess.
But you gave me an opportunity. I would say that what you have is more of a fan base that it's about them, and it's not about the team. Teams that come to if you're talking about teams that are coming to Notre Dame and being fearful of Notre Dame, they know that there's an opportunity there. I mean, it depends on your coach. I think under Freeman, I don't think the story is the same thing as it was under the aforementioned head coach.
I hope that's not the case.
He has a swagger to him, right? He has a swagger, and he doesn't throw his team under the bus. So I think there's more respect for Notre Dame football growing once again versus what you may have seen in the past.
Yeah. John Dow says it better be all green that night. I hope so. I want to see a lot of green.
It's supposed to be a green out, so
yeah, I saw the T-shirts they're selling. It's
gonna unfortunately be Christmas colors. Unfortunately, it's going to be Christmas in September.
Any idea what the actual ticket allotment is it that Notre Dame gives to OSU? I always thought it was 5,000 tickets to the away team, but maybe it's raised in the last few years. I don't know, but always.
I think that's a good round number.
Yeah, 5,000. I always thought is what it used to be for the visiting team.
Yeah, and it should be the corner of the stadium. If you don't see one particular corner of the stadium a certain color, there's trouble.
Yeah. Magnum says, and I hope Notre Dame beats the ever-loving shit out of Ohio State. Sick of their sore losing excuse-making asses.
Oh.
Yeah, that has kind of been a trend with them. You can't deny that.
It's gonna be a good game. I think those that played at Ohio State last year, they kind of have an axe to grind. I think you have a totally different team than you had last year playing against Ohio State. So,
well, and the biggest thing is we've said, Ben and I have said this pretty much every video so far. You and I said it tonight, but it's true. We have a quarterback that's at the next level. I mean, I'm sorry, just Tyler Buchner and Drew Pine weren't the answer. Sam Hartman is proven, and I think that's going to make the biggest difference.
here's what I fear: Hartman has a bad game,
I think I know where you're going.
All of a sudden, there's the hate.
Yeah, people turn on him.
All the hate will just go. He'd be a guy that would be able to brush it off. But once again, why should I play at a good level other than what he needs to do to get to the next level? He still needs to maintain his stock for the draft.
Yes. Well, of course. But I do hope he comes and balls out. But even if he has a bad game, that's still our quarterback. I'm going to stick behind him. And even though it may sound like it, I'm not just all of a sudden trashing Buchner and Pine. I have all the respect in the world for what those guys tried to do here. And like I said before, Drew Pine, he saved our season last year from being an absolute disaster because he was the best option that we had.
I was the guy calling for Drew Pine. I was the guy calling for Drew Pine to start the season. I remember the conversation we had, and you were like, "So who do you think is going to start the season?" I said, "It should be Drew Pine," but it was Buchner, and it didn't work out well for Buchner, did it?
No, it didn't. He just,
he went down. He went down. What, the second game of the season?
Yeah, in the Marshall loss.
Yep.
He went down, and I guess maybe I didn't see it before, but I did see it, but in the spring game, not this year, but the year before, in the spring game, well, actually, no, he didn't. He got hurt in last year's spring game. Never mind.
Buchner did not play in that year's spring game. That was Drew Pine.
Yeah, it was Drew Pine, and he based on that, he probably should have started. But Buchner, the thing with him is they tried and they tried and they tried and they tried. He could never get comfortable in the pocket. He was always running for his life. And I'm sure maybe the offensive line problems had something to do with that. But even when they were blocking, he still wasn't looking comfortable. He still looked like a deer in headlights.
It was coaching and it was offensive coordinator.
Yeah, you hate to say it, but it's true.
They were his biggest fans, and it just never materialized. So,
well, and I'll tell you one thing that I do like, since you brought up the coaching staff and whatnot. What we noticed under Kelly is that, oh, come on, let's go. Can't pretend like he doesn't exist. He did the best that he could while he was here, and he did help bring us back to relevance. But what I like too is under Freeman so far is there's no obligation to your friends.
Yep. Well, I think he's a player's coach. He knows how to be a pal. He knows how to be the father figure when he needs to be, but he knows how to separate himself from those points in time and be a coach.
He has a good balance.
Coaches are too afraid to get a player upset. No, fire him up. Make him go out and earn it.
He's a good balance between players coach and disciplinarian. Like he'll like you said, he'll be like a father figure, but he's not. I've never seen a practice, but I'd like to think he does get on their tails and yell when he has to. But he makes it to where they're not afraid to come to him off the field when they need to talk to him about something.
It's all in the way that you show yourself. It's all in the way that you display yourself.
And
So
it seemed like with
all
Kelly, he was
composure.
just it seemed like with Kelly, he was strictly disciplinarian, and he didn't have that bond with his players.
He was the same way with the media, by the way. So
Right. Yeah, and I get that there's guys who don't like asking me or answering media questions, but you should know it's a part of the job.
well, I went from one of my first press conferences from him telling me that I made an astute observation to one of the last press conferences that I did with him, and he got really frustrated with me. But I was able to shrug it off. But you gotta take responsibility. If you can't take responsibility for your team, you don't belong to be the head coach. And
Well,
right now, Freeman, he puts it on him. He says there is no, what's the word I'm looking for? There is no, there's nothing there for saying that we did okay. You got to do your best.
yeah.
Plain and simple.
Well, let me tell you something about Kelly real quick. And since I've started since Ben and I have started using our real names, it wouldn't be hard for people to look this up. And I don't think he'd care if I tell this story. But for those of you watching, my uncle, and I've never wanted to make this public because I'm one who's very protective of his family, but I'll share it with you guys. My uncle from I want to say like 86 to 2013 or 2014 was the team doctor for the football team. And so yeah, he's worked under Lou Holtz and all these coaches that have come through. He's treated a lot of well-known players that have come through Notre Dame. And Kelly and him would butt heads. I don't know if I would say all the time, but a number of times, if you will. And Kelly actually tried to get my uncle fired one time.
Incredible.
Because it was his first season at Notre Dame. And so 2010. And you guys remember when George, you remember when Kyle Rudolph tore his ACL his senior year in 2010?
Yep.
Well, to make a long story short, my uncle diagnosed him and said, "Hey, listen, his ACL is torn. He's got a torn ACL. He's done for the rest of the season, and he's like, I'm sorry, but you're done, Kyle."
Yep.
Well, Kelly still wanted to play him, and so what he did was he brought in, instead of listening to my uncle, he brought in this like chiropractic specialist or whatever.
Yeah.
And the specialist told him, well, yeah, you can play on this, but if you put on a brace, it should be good to go. Well, even though they bring in a second opinion, if you will, it was my uncle's position he still had to sign off on it to clear him to play. He still was the one to clear him.
Sure,
and
spend the money, but you're not going to change the inevitable.
Yeah. And he tells Kelly, no, I am not going to clear Kyle Rudolph to play. He's got a professional future. And plus the season was already bad.
Yep.
Because we ended up playing in the Sun Bowl that year. And I'm sorry, you're not going to risk a guy who has a potential to be one of the best tight ends in the NFL and have him sacrifice that for the freaking Sun Bowl.
Yep.
And so that pissed off Kelly a new one, and he wanted my uncle fired. So my uncle actually had to go to the board at Notre Dame at the athletic
and justify his decision.
I don't know if it was the administration itself or just the athletic department or what. I forget that part, but he had to go in front of the board at Notre Dame, either or, and show them, hey, this is why I'm not clearing this guy to play. He's going to risk further injury and damage the injury that he already has. And plus he has a professional future in the NFL. So that's why I didn't clear him. And so they ruled in favor of my uncle.
Yep. So, only thing Kelly came out looking like was an ass.
Yeah. And Kyle Rudolph, he went on to spend what, 12 years in the NFL. So
Just retired. Yep.
Exactly. So there you go. For lack of a better term, who got the last laugh on that one?
Yep.
But let's get back to some of the comments here. Magnum says a blessing in disguise was Tommy Rees leaving to go to Bama. Notre Dame's offense looks so much better without him. Corey Flynn said, agree, Magnum. Interested to see if he struggles and gets chased out of Bama. Are you talking, Corey? Are you talking about Tommy Rees?
He's talking about Rees.
Okay, yeah, interesting. That's he brings up a good point. Like, there's been a lot of chatter after them losing to Texas, so that'll start. But it's 3 games into it's 3 games into the season. So
Saban's going to retire. So his tenure at Alabama could be very short.
Yeah, and I don't think they're prepping him necessarily. I don't think they're necessarily
prepping him for head coach.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Not anytime soon.
John Dow says Suckeye fans are worried for this game. Living in Ohio, I've already been hearing the excuses of why they will lose. Would love nothing more than to ruin their year. Oh, absolutely. We need to just hit the gas and stay on the gas.
Okay. I was going to say, go down that road. Don't go down the other part of that trail.
Yes. What trail do you think I was going to go down?
I'm just saying, I just be careful. I always say be careful of taunting the other team, because karma sucks.
Oh yeah, I'm not getting cocky.
No. And that's all that I was trying to say. I wasn't saying you were getting cocky. I was like, just avoid, stay a skosh below.
Well, that's why I said I hope we step on the gas and don't let off. And plus, I know how vicious Ohio State fans are, because there's this page out there called 11 Warriors, which is an Ohio State page, and they actually did a post about me on there once years ago.
Huh.
I think it was before we played Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl. I think it was the 2015-2016 season.
The one that what's his name? What was his name? Zeke Elliott. The one Zeke Elliott should not have played in because he got arrested for DWI or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Never should have played that game.
Well, all I know is I am going to be careful because Ohio State fans, especially on the internet, on YouTube, on Facebook, they make themselves well known.
I think pay for it.
Well, I'm already predicting next week when we get going with the predictions and the especially in the post game show, regardless of either way what happens, we're gonna probably get a lot of attention.
Yeah,
but we're gonna be professional though. But yeah, I agree with John Doust. I hope we just ruin their season. Magnum says Milroe is hot doo-doo chunklets. That's not going to do Reese any better. I'm guessing you're talking about the Bama's quarterback. Corey Flynn says, music to my ears, John. Love to hear that. He then says, yeah, and Tommy seems to regress quarterbacks, not enhance. Well, we haven't seen anything to tell us otherwise.
It's a tell of the tape.
JF Priest says, thanks for doing this. I would assume he's talking about the live show. You're welcome. I hope you enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And also, guys, make sure to go subscribe to us over at the Voice of College Football Notre Dame. It's easy to find. I don't know if I can. Let me see if I can try to post the link here, because sometimes for whatever reason it doesn't let me post links in the in the live chat. Voice of College Football Notre Dame. Here it is. All right, let's see what it does here.
You should be able to put it on a scroll.
Oh, it's letting me post it.
Yeah, but you should be able to do it across the scroll on the bottom of your screen. There you go.
Yep. Yeah. So for those of you who haven't been here the whole time on the show, on the stream, Ben and I have things are different for us this year. We still do our our recorded preview videos on here, but for our post game stuff, we do it all over on the Voice of College Football, Notre Dame. Mark Rogers and company over there have given Ben and I an opportunity to do some work for them and partner with them. And we do live post game shows after every Notre Dame game this season. And so far we've gotten three under our belts, and would hope that you guys come over there and enjoy the fun with us. But the link is here in the live chat if you guys want to go and subscribe over there. But hey, don't forget to subscribe here as well. The Two Irish Brothers Show brand, it's not going anywhere. But anyway, thanks, John. Appreciate it, buddy. The comment before that, Corey Flynn. Yeah, I was at that 2015 Fiesta Bowl game. I really need to see us beat an OSU team. I know we've only beaten them twice in our history, and that was back in the 30s. But ever since then, it's been Ohio State, Ohio State, Ohio State. We've come close a couple of times to beating them.
Now I just got to get it done.
Yeah, and granted, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to say we in total throughout all the history of college football, we've only played them 7 times. It's kind of surprising because you think being two schools that are just a next to one another state-wise, you think that we would have played more times over the years.
Nope, not the way the Big Ten was talking about us back when.
Nope. Oh, we know the story with that.
So
let's see. A couple more comments here. The 4 I want to make the college football. Magnum says the 4 I want to make the college football playoff are Georgia, Notre Dame, Florida State, and USC. I want USC with a passion. We got screwed out of playing them in 2007. We owe them an ass beating. LOL. I hope you get that opportunity. But I hope it's in the semifinal, not the final, because the final is for us.
Yeah.
Boom. John Dow says this would be the year to do it. I sure hope so. Because one thing, I don't want to give anything away from our preview for Ohio State, but there's definitely some things with Ohio State that we can take advantage of. I mean, they're a good team. I'm not saying that. But there's definitely some things there that I think that on either side of the ball we can take advantage of.
Well, not having 6 penalties for 58 yards and 4 penalties for 24 yards on offense is a good place to start.
Yes.
That will give you a whooping to no end. 6 for 58 yards on defense.
Yeah. That is definitely a game changer. You clean up the mental mistakes and you're off to a good start. Next just comes the execution and the finish.
Yep. So
but anyway, George, how much longer do you have available?
I can go another 10 minutes.
Okay. We might as well do that. Because we got a nice little crowd. It's going back and forth between 7 and 10 viewers. And if people are still watching us, why cut it off now? But anybody has a comment or keep the comments and the questions coming, guys, and we'll answer them as best as we can. But I just was wanting to finish saying earlier, I hope you guys enjoyed that little story I told you. But like I said, Ben and I are wanting to get ourselves more out there, and you guys to know us more on a personal level. And I never really wanted to tell that story before with my uncle because, like I said, with things I've experienced in my past being here on YouTube, I'm one who's become very protective of his family. But I think I don't think my uncle would mind because he wouldn't tell us these stories at family get-togethers if he wanted to keep them a secret. And he never said keep it a secret. He never said this stays here.
Yeah.
And if he wanted me to, then I'll apologize to him accordingly. But no, it's just that he was there for like 25 years in that same position, and it's just I've wanted to talk about it before, and I'm not bragging or anything, but it's just like to have a relative at that level, working with that football team in a hands-on position, and work with these guys all the time. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, when we're, as a family, we're proud of his accomplishments.
Yep.
And so it's just, yeah, but of course, I mean, you've heard me tell the stories, George, in my past. Like, I really wanted to, with things that I've encountered, I'm not going to let my family get hurt in any way or have the chance to be hurt.
Nope. You gotta stand for yourself. I get it.
Yeah, I even wanted to. I've also wanted to ask him if he ever wanted to come on, but I don't think he'd do that. Probably not.
No, probably not.
Straight Magnum says straight clown show. Who are you talking about, dude? You talking about Alabama or USC? So needless to say, Brian Kelly. Yeah, he's definitely a shit show. BVD, what's up, buddy? What, Magnum? You don't want Tennessee in the playoffs? Oh, of course you don't. LOL. BVD, it's always awesome when you pop up, my man. Same with you and Magnum both. Because let me tell you something, George, about Magnum. Good friends with him, and of course on Facebook as well. He posts some savage things about everybody else in the SEC outside of Georgia. This is a guy who, as long as I've known him, which has been since 2009, he's never held back on his feelings. Oh, now it's going to get fun. Tennessee is not even on my radar. That happens when you own a team. And then, yeah, BVD is another one that I've known this in the same time. He tells it like it is too, but he's more like in a subtle, funny way. Magnum is vicious. Magnum and I need to be YouTube superstars. LOL. No, you guys got a. I was gonna say fight, but that wouldn't be fair. No, we're all good friends, George. It's all a joke. But yeah, there needs to be a serious debate. Big Vol Daddy versus Magnum. BVD says first we got to stomp Florida and Bama. But no, let me tell you something though. Big Vol Daddy, with everything that he's gone through this past year, this guy's a freaking warrior. Because the thing is, George, he was actually not too long ago, earlier this year, actually, he was battling for his life, and he came through with flying colors.
I knew you. I thought you heard you talk about a story about that.
Yeah. I mean, BVD, and I know you don't want me going into all your details. So, but well, I mean, a lot of people know it from watching your stuff, but no, Keith has had a lot of health issues. He even had to have a leg amputated. He was in the hospital, and myself personally, I thought he was going to pass away because it got to the point where they were calling his family in, and usually when they call a family, that doesn't spell good.
Yeah,
because you were like in a coma, right, BVD, or something like that. But it was bad. I know that much. But a couple days later, his eyes were open. He was talking, and he's back to doing YouTube videos. And I mean,
I'm trying to crawl back myself. By the way,
what's that?
I'm trying to crawl back myself.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if you had health issues, I'm sorry,
Oh,
man.
no. I just went with everything I went through last year after the election. I just never, you know, they say mental health, stress is not a good thing.
Yeah.
It put me into a spot. So this is all part of my comeback. Not to
Well,
take away, not to take away from your buddy, but
no. This is actually a good place to talk about all this stuff, really, when you think about it. But yeah, no, everybody in the audience, including myself, George, we're praying for you. We're praying for you, and you just keep staying strong. I think because I think we all have issues that we go through.
yeah,
Some mental, some physical. I'll just say it. My case, a year ago, I was having issues with a girl. So and that drove me insane. And
they'll do that.
yeah. Well, there's a lot I'm leaving out, and I'm not going to get into it.
Yep, I don't blame you.
But no, in my past, I've had epileptic seizures,
Yep,
like 42 over the span of like 15 years. But good news though, seizure free for about a year and a half.
that's awesome.
I know I've never talked about that to anybody, but yeah, that's what goes on in my everyday life that I've had to worry about in the past. But it's kind of good we got talking there for a second, and we'll answer these last few comments and then we'll wrap it up because I haven't had dinner yet, and I'm sure you probably want to go to bed, George, because you're an hour ahead of me.
Oh no, I got to go find out who did what on America's Got Talent.
Are you serious? You actually watch that? This is me trying to give you crap. Just relax.
I know. Hey, if it's one of those things I can share with my wife and sit down and watch.
Yes, I understand.
Yep.
No, the real crap I would give is if I found out Ben actually went and watched the Barbie movie with his wife. But what would be even worse is if he went and watched it by himself. Then I would never let him hear the end of it.
Yep.
But so let's see.
And thanks for the words, Big Vol Daddy. I appreciate that.
We will be the biggest blip on the radar when we beat your ass in November, buddy. Him talking to Magnum. Yep. First, we got to stomp Florida and Bama. John Dow says, which team do you think is the biggest challenge left on our schedule for Notre Dame?
The next game.
Yeah, that's true.
Game. The next game, Sean, you know that I'm that kind of guy.
Same here. I look at
never ever, because it's a trap. It could be a trap. No one thought that we should have lost to Duke, and what happened? Everyone was looking past Duke.
Yes, same with Marshall last year.
Yep.
BVD says, for the record, I hope the Irish kick the shit out of Ohio State next week. Getting a lot of that. Telling me thank you. Yeah. I take it easy on BVD, but other Tennessee fans, I let it ride, says Magnum. Yes, you do. I've seen it, and it's hilarious. Corey Flynn says, I want Colorado in the playoffs so we can get payback for the 1991 bowl game that the Rocket team got screwed and Buffs won their only national title. Yeah, I think that was bull crap. I've seen the highlight of that. Bull crap clipping call or whatever on that Rocket return. I don't care, Sean. Every doctor in Northeast Tennessee has literally been inside my body, so you can talk about whatever you want. Yes, coma for almost a week. That's what I thought was that it was that long. But like I said, man, you are a trooper and a warrior, man. To go through all that and come out on the other side. He said BBD also says, George, our mental health will almost always dictate where our physical health goes. Fight like a warrior.
All the time.
The awkward silence from George after Sean asked that. Gold. Which part? Oh, the America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
And the face too that you made. I didn't want to say anything, but that was funny too.
Hey, it's all part of the shtick, man.
Well, and also like you said,
my wife watches things that she doesn't want to watch. So this is part of that give and take.
I'll share this part. When I was shoot, get this off the screen. hate it when these things pop up. I hate it.
As far as BVD says about, as fans, you're allowed to look ahead. You can, but that's from myself being around the media and being part of the media. I know what the answer is going to be.
Yeah. Like I said, I was going to share this, but I was 13 years old at the time, 12 or 13. I forget when it came out, but I'm not proud to admit this, but I actually went to the theater and watched the Spice Girls movie. The only reason I went, though, is because, see, my brother and I, we took our friend. And our friend, he had the biggest crush on Victoria Beckham. What was her name? Posh Spice at the time. I think that was her nickname. He had a huge crush on her. So he had like posters of her. He had magazines and so on. He's like, will you guys come with me? Because I don't want to go alone. It'd be weird. I'm like, it's going to be weird either way, dude. And sure enough, we go in the theater and there's nothing but a bunch of girls in there. And then we're like the only 3 dudes in there. Yeah. Oh, it was awkward. And the movie was crap to boot. And BVD says George probably watches Housewives of South Bend.
No, I live amongst the Housewives of South Bend. I don't have to watch them on TV. I see them in everyday life. To be careful.
Yeah, see, this is probably going to get posted later, so you got to be careful. He says, remember, you keep your wife happy, right?
Yep.
Us fans are allowed to look ahead, George.
Yep, and that's what I was saying. But as a member of the media, you know what the coach is going to say.
Beating USC and Michigan in the playoffs would be a dream scenario. Yes. Corey also says, I saw the Spice Girls movie in theater too, so no shame. I guess not. Hey guys, great start for the Irish. This is Will. He does the post game, the live post game shows with us over at the Voice of College Football. So how you doing, Will? BVD also says, don't feel bad, George. I'm the biggest Teen Mom ever fan. Or biggest Teen Mom fan ever. Come on. Magnum says, but yeah, I just want to say I love you, BVD. I can't express how much I'm glad you pulled through all that. It just wouldn't be the same without you. And amen to that, my man. That it really wouldn't.
Yep.
He says, appreciate that, Mags.
He spelled Teen Mom wrong.
Who cares? We're not grammar Nazis here.
No.
But yeah, I think as long as you're a fan of just the show and not actually having a teen daughter who is a teen mom, I'll say that much. Better to watch the show than actually be that, So, but yeah, I think this is a good place for us to wrap it up. Otherwise, we could chill with you guys and joke all night. But unfortunately, it's a weeknight. We both have things to do. One last thing, though. Will says, I'm doing good. Beating USC in the regular season, then LSU in semis, and Michigan in the final would be the best.
Be careful what awesome. You wish for.
Yeah, we got to take it one step at a time. BVD says, you Domers have a great night, and we'll see you next time around. I wish they would bring back Tennessee for another home and home. Well, that way, that would give me a reason to go down to see a game at Neyland and see BVD.
There's a good chance that you may get Peyton Manning.
What do you mean?
Peyton Manning would be at the game for sure.
Oh, yes. Of course. I wasn't sure what you were talking about. I'm like, 1, he's not playing anymore, and 2, he's not in college anymore. But yeah, but beat him, yes.
He likes showing up.
Oh, yes. And Corey Flynn says, yeah, that's even better, Will. So, all right, guys. Good place to turn in. George, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. And it was great to have you back on after a little hiatus.
Oh, thanks for having me on. It was great.
Yeah,
always good to come in and talk football with you.
And I always seem to learn something too. And no, I'm not just talking about the America's Got Talent or the Desperate Housewives thing.
I'll leave you with this, what you didn't know. I'm also a Skywarn spotter for the National Weather Service.
Yeah, that's cool. That's still not Desperate Housewives or anything. So that's cool.
But it's another tidbit of information.
It's nothing I can give you crap for.
Absolutely. Yep. True.
So, all right, guys. Well, with that said, I'm Sean Moriarty.
And I'm George Bashura.
And you guys know how we always wrap the show up. Good night. God bless. And go Irish.